Welcome back to the Daily Edge. As always, here with my brothers, TJ and Todd Daly. We're going to continue the trend. We've been talking a lot about racing, and we just recently ran the mini marathon several weeks ago. Quite an experience, several stories there, but also a really neat story where a kid broke the world record there. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to kick it over to Todd, talk a little bit about his experience. I'll go ahead and share. You have done this for at least I've seen you do it twice. Has it been twice? Where when he is not really trying to achieve a certain goal, he dresses up as Waldo. And the first time he did it, I was with him and actually ran with him that race. And I think we ran maybe like a 1:33 or 1:34 half. And the looks on these people's faces as Todd was running by them in jeans and the comments he was getting was unbelievable. This race, you ran a 1:26, which I was not fast enough to witness it this time. But tell us a little bit about Waldo and that experience on the course.
It's always fun. You know, I've done a lot of races over the years where I've taken myself pretty seriously and I try and get time. And having just done well in Boston, it was a little colder than I like. If you know me, you know I do not like to run in the cold. So when the forecast was upper 30s at the start, I thought it'd be a good day to just enjoy that and bring some joy to the people, and again, not take myself too seriously. It was really a lot of fun. That's a race that I do most years, and really for no reason other than I just really enjoy it. And I haven't seen the picture yet of me in the crowd. I've seen a couple pictures of the crowd at the start, but I was near the front of the corral, so I'm still looking. If anyone has that picture of the corral, that includes the A and the B corral, I'd love to kind of see the Where's Waldo true image. I haven't seen that one, but yeah, it was a fun time. I would say with jeans anymore, they're a little stretchier than they were back in the day. So I think Angel runs in jeans. It's not as bad as you would think. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, running in jeans, and I had a little satchel and. The hat and the whole nine. It was fun. It was fun interacting with people, the comments and the support and the cheering and the fans. I got more energy in than I probably gave up with the costume, but it was a lot of fun.
What is it like? I mean, this was the 50th. This is a big one.
Big one.
I did not run it. But what are some of the comments that is it just like, Waldo? Like what?
There's a lot of that. There's, there were a few people that you run into or you're running by on the race and are just, they'll make some comments about the jeans. A lot of people at the aid stations are really excited. Go Waldo, yeah, because a lot of the people that are working those aid stations are kind of our generation and they grew up, there was a lot of that. And I don't even know if they still make those books. Do they still make those books? Is that still a thing?
That's a good question. I don't.
But
they were great.
A lot of people recognizing it, and I would say that is generally it. You have people commenting on the outfit and running in that sort of attire.
Was anyone mad? Like, were they like? Because you're running 6:35s or 6:30s. Like you're moving. So like someone out there just pouring their heart out trying to break 1:30 and you're just kind of bouncing by. Was there anybody that was irritated that you know?
I don't know. There may have been, but they didn't say anything to me. They didn't indicate that. There were some comments that were less encouraging than others, but nothing that would have suggested people were angry with me.
Did you see the Caterpillar guys out there at all? Did you guys see them?
Yeah, the five guys together. I did. I saw them, but I didn't. Not while I was running. I forget I think I saw them before the race.
They broke the world record for the team costume, right. And it was crazy. I got a call earlier that week from one of the guys, and he's like, "Hey, Mountain Coast is sponsoring this, but one of our guys is sick. We need a new pair of shoes. Do you have the size?" And I happen to have the size they needed in my garage. So happy to contribute to that. So jumping from you saying you probably got more energy in than you put out to somebody who left it all out there, not wanting to put that much energy forth. How was your experience?
going into it, I was just like, I'm just going to kind of take it easy and, I'm going to enjoy the day. And I found out one thing, which is I'm not really good at not competing. And my buddy Phil Dodick that I was running with, generally it's like, okay, I don't know who's in better shape. I don't know what he's been running. I don't get on Strava very often. And I'm like, I'll just go whatever pace worked for him. And so Phil was, I get there and we start talking and he was like, I've been running 80 to 90 miles a week. Like I'm in really good shape. I'll do whatever you want to. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we got. And so then, you don't go out too hard. I think our first mile was like 7:45. My first time in the R3 Pumas.
Okay.
Which you guys had talked about. And there's one thing, and I'd be interested in your take on this, but I've always been a back outside heel runner. And that may sound crazy to you, but you guys should look at your shoes and see where your like hit points and where you wear on. But I would always wear these outside. I made a really specific like mental note to stay on the balls of my feet and just kind of to stay. So we went 7:45, 7:15, and I probably haven't run anything under, I normally run in the 9 to 9.5s, and like me and some guys would go out and do maybe we did like a 10 miler and I maybe did it like an 8:15, but I haven't run under 8 minutes in forever, right? Like anything competitive. So we just, between that, I had a couple of gels, the fuel, the weather, we just kind of got going and we ended up, between 6:55 and 7:05 and, we just kept rolling and that's a really interesting race because generally, you're settling in the first 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, you're on the track. Track's pretty cool. You get off the track and then we call it that dark zone. You get off the track, it's like 8.75 miles and then it clicks to 9. And from 9 to 11, it's just like
terrible.
It's eternity. When Phil looked over at me at like 10 or 10.5, he's like, the next couple miles are all mental. It's all mental. And then so you just kind of keep the same cadence, right? And then you get to the very end and go. So exceeded all expectations. It was a beautiful day. I didn't have any business running a whatever it was, like a 133. But it's just fun to compete. So
well, I don't know if you can run on the back outside of your heels in those shoes because they don't have a heel.
Yeah, there's something that I've been focusing on, especially in those Supernovas. Is that what I have?
Super Blast?
Yeah, the Super Blast. It's like you said, you can't be lazy in these shoes. And what I've come to realize is like I've got to consciously think about staying on the balls of my feet.
Yeah.
And when I stay up, if you've noticed in any of my current runs, I'm running 8-minute pace and I'm doing it and I'm using a little more effort. But when I just kind of like settle and I kind of fall back and I don't stay up on them, I'm running 9:30s, 9:45s. And it's not that much of a difference.
Right.
And I've never run on the balls of my feet. And so it's crazy to think about. I've kind of unlocked this. If I can train myself and train those muscles on the balls of my feet, I may have a higher top end or be able to do some things that I didn't think was possible.
Oh, I totally.
Because I've never done that. And I remember when you kind of transitioned and like, but even in the, I did I think a 10 yesterday and it was like, I've got to remind myself to stay on them. But once I do, if I can make that my normal stride, I think I can probably pick up a little bit. So long story. It was a great race. Phil, incredible, motivational partner. We had a great time and it's kind of getting me ready for the Mo.
Yeah. I mean, what a race. Phil is off the charts right now, looking and seeing those 70, 80, 90 mile weeks. He had a fantastic run out in North Carolina, a great 100, at least from his perspective, he felt fantastic there. So it's been really fun to watch that. And he is ready to unlock some big things. We always talk about him and his sleep. He can sleep at the drop of a dime.
Constant.
And to the point where we've actually thought he was narcoleptic because he'll fall asleep mid-conversation. But if you want to talk about a superpower to have at the Backyard Ultra in September, that'll be it. So like one of the things, and I think this is where we'll go deep in this conversation, and we want to acknowledge the fact that Todd had to leave. We don't do podcasts without the three of us, but we wanted to get his perspective very quickly on the race itself, and then Trent and I will kind of close this one out from here. There was a kid, Ben Dick, and then Brad is his dad, who broke the world record U11 for the half marathon. I think he ran something like 120. which is flying. You're talking like 6:10s, I think, from a pace perspective, somewhere right there, maybe a little lower than that, maybe 6:08 something, but very, very fast for an 11-year-old. And this obviously was celebrated by many, but this also generated a ton of criticism. And I'd love to spend kind of the rest of this exploring this as it relates to human tendency to do these things and where these perspectives have come from. And in perspectives, I mean criticisms of children or parents or whatever. So when this happened, I was blown away. And anytime something like that happens, and I've seen this happen numerous times, as I'm sure you probably have in other sports that your kids participate in, where you'll mention an accomplishment to another parent and their initial visceral reaction is, oh, I hope they don't hurt that kid, or I hope that they don't burn him out, or, gosh, I bet they're forcing him to do this, that, and the other thing. So having a daughter who's done some pretty unusual things in the running world, I haven't faced any of that head on, but I know it's there because it's just always there. And so what I did was I had a buddy who, this U11 world record received quite a bit of attention. It was it was all over Instagram. It was all over the news. It was all over this, that, and the other thing. Funny enough, if you watch the news coverage, Waldo appears right there in the background. So if you go look this up online and you find the local Indiana WTHR, I think it was, news coverage, you'll see old Waldo
at the end,
right there at the finish. But anyways, so this got a lot of coverage, and I noticed a buddy of mine, shout out Robert Jackson, on Instagram, like vehemently defending this kid. Like anytime anybody would say like, this is detrimental or this is whatever, this is too much. Like Robert was just, this is cope, going after people. So I hit him up. I was like, yo, RJ, I want to have a deeper discussion with my brothers about this kid. Can you give me more insight? And he's like, yeah, he trains with us so Robert's part of Personal Best Training, Matt Ebersol's crew. And Robert's one of kind of his elite athletes, and he's very, very close with Matt. And they have workouts typically Tuesday nights, I think, down somewhere north central-ish at the track. And then they also work out Saturdays at Eagle Creek. And Robert had said that this kid had done some shorter workouts with them, but that he was friends with his dad. And so he reached out to his dad, and I said, well, and I've got his dad's contact information. I just haven't had time yet to really sit down and have an in-depth conversation. Although I did run into Ben at a soccer tournament like 2 weeks ago. I couldn't find his dad in time.
Playing?
No, he was running strides like along a soccer field, just kind of having fun. Yeah. So I asked Robert, I said, well, what does he do? What does it look like? Because I want to like factually defend this kid. And how many miles do you think he runs a week?
Oh boy. I'm going to say in the 40 to 50 range.
15.
Oh.
Exactly. And I think what I want to highlight is that just like in any sport, and maybe this is where this can diverge into some different sports because you've had exposure to kids like this. I have another friend whose daughter is a phenom on the track. She is my daughter's age and is beating her, Kay runs a 550, 555 mile, and this girl runs a 515, same age. And again, my assumption was, they're just loading her mileage up, when in all reality, she's the same mileage. Her dad's like, yeah, she's not running more than 15 miles a week till she's in 8th grade. I'm not going to let it happen. And I think you're seeing that. And so I wonder why, or maybe it's not that. Like, where do you think the perspective comes from when we see a phenom, no matter what sport it is, that they always have this overbearing parent who's forcing them to do this crazy amount of work? Like, where do you think that comes from? And why do we react that way?
Well, I would never react that way. I frankly don't, having 4 of my own kids, don't think you can get a kid to do anything that they don't want to do anyways. Mm-hmm. Maybe, there's the Tiger Woods of the world, where his dad was somewhat, I guess, abusive from you got to do this all the time standpoint. So as a person, I would never assume that, oh, he broke the world record, his dad's making him run 50 miles a week and this is dad induced. To me, the first thing I would personally think is that he loves it. It's like a lot of the times a kid can't chase a dream, or a kid is chasing their dream and not their parents' dream. Now, can parents get wrapped up in that? Yeah, absolutely. I think it says a lot about the person making the comment is where I would leave it, because someone that immediately goes to that probably goes to the negative thought on just about anything. It's probably more than just that, right? And I don't necessarily live in as a competitive as a world as you do. So like people around here, I mean, they commit to sports, but not quite to the level of intensity. Maybe some of it's jealousy, but trying to justify, but like, why do you care? I think at the end of that's one thing that drives me crazy. It's like, why do you care? Like, good for him, but why would you come in and negatively attack? And whether his parents were doing it or were not, what's at your point to even say anything?
I wonder why we always default to like, I mean, it's a great point. Like default to that, it just can't be. Like we disregard people that are phenoms at things. Like this has to be, this has to be the result of again, Earl Woods or Todd Marinovich's dad or Andre Agassi's dad. I mean, those are the three stories that stick out where like the dad was a psychopath. But like other than that, we've seen.
I mean, the kids that the parents that have psychopath dads. I mean, that run around at, sporting events and like yell and scream and I mean, like you can, if you're around them enough to know, you're going to understand if this is self-driven or parent-driven.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that, you have no room to comment on it. Like you don't know what's going on in their lives or what, like Kay running 50 miles at Prairie, I was out there with her. That was 100% Kay. You've never once pushed Kay to run that many miles. She was inspired. She was inspiring others. That was 100%. And anyone else that says anything different about it is stupid because they don't know the situation. You can't comment on things that you're not close enough to. People want you to give an opinion, or they have an opinion and they never know all the facts. And that's like one of the things I'm going through right now in leadership is like, they want me to sit down and they're like, okay, hey, I need you to give me an opinion, like rate this stuff 1 to 5. And I look at everything on the list and I'm like, I've got a dozen questions on each one of these before I feel informed enough to actually answer one question. And so if you see someone do something great, or someone's asking you for opinion on something, the first thing you should be thinking about is, what information do I need to actually make an educated opinion on it if you're going to give one? Because people don't care. It's the whole social media phenomenon, right? Oh, I'm just like, oh, the parents are probably beating them and forcing them to do all these miles. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't know that. Yeah. It'd be like arguing with my 8-year-old. He just makes stuff up and says, Dad, this is what it is. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And then he goes, because he doesn't. That's the same thing. It's wild.
What do we feel? Why do we feel like, I wonder this too about, you said something, and I think that the biggest potential detriment to any human, child or parent alike, is the mental side of it, right? That's where, it's crazy to me is that we look at kids and yes, they're growing. Yes, they're developing. Yes, whatever. But a lot of times you'll see every time a kid falls down, we're like, get up, walk it off. Because their bones are very flexible at that age. They're very malleable. Their joints, they're like tendons, everything is like rubber bands. You see an adult fall, like the reaction is like, oh, I hope they didn't break a hip.
Right.
And it's a legitimate reaction because, 60 years old, you fall and break a hip. That's the start of a decline potentially. Right. Yeah. Yet at the same time, I think not we, but like there's a generation, I think it's actually gotten better. I think it was worse, where we believe that there's some magical level of physical load that's going to break somebody if they hit this like number. You said without hesitation, 40 or 50 miles for this kid. Well, coincidentally, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, when he was 12, was running 40 or 50 miles a week. He's the best runner in the world. I mean, yes, he's been hurt recently, but like for the better part of 14 years, he wasn't hurt. And it's crazy to me that there is this assumption that there is a ceiling on like, oh God, they're, all of a sudden you're a slave driver. If, like you said, maybe it's this positive feedback loop, right? If your kid's really, really good at something and then they're like, oh, everybody gives me attention and I like this. And, you're helping them stay grounded and not put all of their identity in whatever it is, but they really want to keep doing it. Where do you think we get these ideas that there's some magical threshold? Is it a jealousy thing? Is it
I think people just like to hear themselves talk. I mean, like, honestly, like, it's fascinating to think, what is the limitation or the right amount of anything?
Yeah.
Right? We sit in here and we talk about the right amount of screen time, the right amount of exercise, the right amount of, like, you've learned that if you run 60 to 70 miles a week, you don't gain weight. You figured out the right amount. People will tell you that's crazy. You're not going to be able to walk by the time you're 60 and, you have 150,000 miles on your body. Like, there's just like, everyone has an opinion of what the right thing is, yet nobody, there is no right answer. Think about work. I realized this a lot lately. In work, most people spend a lot of time doing tactical things, right? Like, majority of people spend all their time doing tactical things. I don't do any tactical things anymore. And it might look like I'm not doing anything. I'm doing all strategic stuff. And it's very thought-provoking, deep stuff. And I leave all this space so I can have these deep, when I walk into a conversation, this deep, engaging conversation on the topic with no distractions. And I can operate at a level above what most people can in those situations because I'm not jumping from meeting to meeting and bouncing around like I am, so is that right or wrong? Like, well, if you're saying, well, we were talking about this, me and Todd, where progress and purpose, and every waking moment, he wants to be focused on purpose and progress. And that's where we get our most joy, is when we're doing something and we're progressing and building and we're doing it within our purpose. And like, well, what does that mean? Well, for him, it means doing a lot and a lot of things. For me, I've found some of the going down and tucking my daughter in and spending 15 minutes and just listening and laughing.
Yeah.
And like, there's these aha moments from the peace and not having the noise. So there's this like, there's no right balance to anything. There's nobody that should be, I mean, obviously a doctor can tell you, well, if you eat these things and whatever, but like, oh, you're high cholesterol, or this is good or this is bad. And there's certain trigger levels for certain things like that. But I'm not sure anyone has the right to comment on any of it, frankly. I think you could disprove it in a lot of, and again, there's benchmarks, there's standards, that unified standards of things that people agree on, with like substances and like alcohol. I mean, there's things, right? So I don't want to get outside the guardrails. There's obviously some guardrails here, but in this middle here, I don't think anyone has the right to say what's good for you and what's bad for you. And as a parent, your job is to coach your kids and what they love. My daughter, Hadley, is an avid soccer player and has been for 6 years and loves soccer. The last month of her life has been all drama club. She played Anna in Frozen Junior, and she was amazing. And her sister Eden played the queen, and she was amazing. And I've seen her more excited about drama than about soccer for the last month. And she missed a lot of practices and games. And I could have been like, oh, she's getting behind, and like, she's got to put in the work and do this. And I'm like, dude, she's loving this. I'm like, you need to be all in until this show. This is what she's passionate about. Follow your kid's passion and let them lead the charge and just get behind them.
How do we unwind it? Like, is it even possible, or is it just by setting an example for other parents? Because I feel your pain. Again, like, Kaylin's passion is running, but she also plays travel soccer, and it has put her in a position where she was like Hadley, where she's missing practices pretty regularly. She has a game on this upcoming Tuesday. Well, it's 7:30 p.m. in Pendleton, and County's the next day. She's like, Dad, I'm not going. There's no way. I don't want to be up till 10 o'clock at night the day before the most important meet of the year for me. But then you've got parents.
Self-driven, and you should 100% be on board for that.
And then I had a parent like 3 weeks ago, and kudos to this guy. Love him. But he comes up to me. at the end of a game or at halftime of a game, he says, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay. And he said, I need to apologize. I'm thinking to myself, for what? He's like, I've been harboring resentment against you because his daughter has really, really taken to soccer. She loves it. She's doing 5-star. She's doing agility. Well, she's doing 5-star. She's going to every practice, every Mario, all of the things. And he obviously wants to see her team succeed. And he looks, and my daughter, amongst a couple others, are missing practices and not missing a ton of games, one here, one there. And he's like, I understand what you're doing as a parent is really difficult, and I know it's hard. Obviously I want the best for my daughter and her experience with her team. I just wanted to apologize to you because I've been feeling that way and I want to get it off my chest, which I thought was really big of him.
Wow.
But I know there's another parent who, I've been calm, but at any opportunity, and here's the funny thing: his daughter plays. She's a swimmer. Swimming only affects the winter. Competitive swimming, really, right? And so, as we know, winter is down season in soccer. Like, it doesn't matter as much. You're not playing games, it's whatever. So she's missing a ton of practices in winter. But at every opportunity this spring to say something about people not practicing, I just think it's a waste of time. We have to spend 20 of our 30 minutes warming up to the game because other people don't show up to practice. And it's just mind-blowing to me. Two different, very, very different, but like relax, is it just setting a good example for these people? Are there talk tracks? Is it, we can.
This is an interesting topic because I serve on the local travel soccer program board, and there is a level of commitment and expectation from players. When you get in those big organizations and you got unlimited players, there should be clear expectations set by the coach, not by the parents, of what expectations are. And your child and you have to select whichever team that you feel like you can commit to or want to from a prioritization standpoint. What I do hate is that like a kid feels limited because they're not willing to like do this year round and like, dude, like chill out. But if you're on a regional team per se, not just an ISL team, and you're up here because you're that good and that requires a full-time commitment, make that clear. But if you're playing on an ISL team, let's be honest. It's like you got ECNL, you got regional. Even if you're on one or two of ISL, like, look, you're not playing high school soccer in Hamilton County. Sorry, period. Like, that's the reality of it. And so that's okay. But like, I get it. It's a struggle because we're dealing with that. We have a small club. We have limited amount of kids. We want everyone to come to everything. But like, they just scheduled 2 soccer games on Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, we have one on Sunday.
Sunday and Monday. We're a Lake family.
Yeah.
Like, right now, I've got it selected that we're not going to be there.
Yeah.
Like, we have limited time together as a family and on the lake. And like, it's super important to us. And we love soccer and we want to commit. My daughter just drove 2.5 hours to a game. They're playing in Terre Haute.
Whoa.
Today.
That's deep.
Yeah. So like, it's not going to be today when you guys see this, but like my point is there's a level of commitment and expectation, but you can't let these things run your life, and you can't let one sport run your life. You've got to let the kid. I mean, there's times where they're going to have burnout and be potentially on the side of being injured, and the kid knows. And it's like, yeah, there's times to tell them to just shut up and go to practice and push through it, but there's also times to realize that like it's not the end of the world. You don't need to have FOMO. And you need to relax. But I do believe in what you're saying. There is a level of commitment that should be explained by the institution prior to.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, talking about tiers of teams, she plays on the second team, and
which is the fourth team,
huh?
Or the fourth team. All if you talk about ECNL, regional, ISL 1, ISL 2.
Yeah,
so it's the fourth team in the scheme of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and here's what's crazy. So last fall, they were in too high of a division on ISL, and they lost every game. I think they scored a goal, and so they got dropped to tier 7. and they've won every game by 5, 4 or 5 goals in the tournament they played in or whatever, because they dropped them too much. But it's like you would hope that the administration, again, you guys are different. We could put 17 girls or 15 girls on a 9v9, and we don't. We put 12, and then all of a sudden the pressure becomes really real, because if a girl's sick and 2 girls have other things, you're playing, you're pulling from other teams and doing this, that, and the other thing. And I do think, the top teams, even like you said, number 1 in ISL, yeah, I get it. It's different. But yeah, I heard something the other day that's nuts and will drive people crazy, because this again kind of speaks to different levels of talent. So I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but do you remember we went to school with a Megan Tipner?
For sure.
So her cousin, I believe, is Matt, who was like Dan Davidson's age. So 4 or 5 years. His daughter's Meredith Tipner, who plays basketball for Miami University, not Ohio.
Okay.
And she played for Noblesville. She started varsity soccer and basketball.
Okay.
And she was Miss Hoosier, Indiana for soccer. Wow. She only played soccer during high school season.
Yeah. There is this unrealistic. Here's the thing. Hadley hasn't played soccer basically in a week and a half. She's playing on a U19 team. She's 14 years old. She's an 8th grader. So she's playing against seniors, juniors. And I just got a text message. They're up 3-0 and she's got all 3 goals. And she hasn't touched a soccer ball arguably in a week and a half.
Yeah.
Like, listen, should your kids participate in the sports that they are assigned or like they've signed up for? Like we're obsessive probably to a point of like, listen, you're not sitting at home missing nothing, right? Like we're not talking about skipping practices for the point of skipping practices, but like it's important. You make a commitment, you should live out your commitment, but there are reasons to miss things based on importance, and those have to be heavily weighted by what your kid feels is important. We're not missing it to go play Pokemon.
Right.
You're like her and this big race that she has, she's 100% right. She can miss a stinking soccer game, right? Like it's not that big a deal. So everyone is looking through life a little bit different, through a little different lens. Everyone should somewhat mind their own business and run their families the best they can. If someone's being egregious and they need to be talked to because they're grossly under participating, whole nother conversation. But arguably, I think you need to go into it with the intent that most parents, you have to give grace and you got to assume positive intent. Yeah. Assume positive intent, because most parents are doing the best they can. I mean, Isaiah's missed stuff because we couldn't get to everything, and he's missed a practice because Roman had a golf match out of town and Hadley had a soccer match out of town, and we just couldn't physically get him there.
Yeah.
Happens.
I like what you're saying about the kids kind of know, even with Miles, it's like he won't miss a practice to miss a practice, but if I can tell that it's like we're teetering on the edge of just, because he's normally pretty excited to go, but if we're teetering on the edge and he's already practiced 3 hours that week, it's like, okay, it's all good, dude. You know.
I remember you saying you give him like every now and then you give him like Friday off. Like,
yeah.
It's like, is it really gonna matter?
Well, I mean, I just thought it was so strange that the number 1 high school, because you do have kids. I don't know how prevalent it is in Indiana. You definitely hear about it more in other states where the top players aren't playing high school. I mean, I know it's a thing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't imagine that. I try to think of it economically, because like if you're a girl and you want to go play ECNL or you want to go play MLS next, like what's the end game? You're not going to make a living off of it, because you can barely make a living it's not likely. And so I would imagine most of the top girls still play high school soccer. And to have the number 1 girl in the state of Indiana only play during high school season and not touch a ball in the off season, not play year round is telling. And I think it should reinforce that, yes, we can affect a little bit in terms of like the level our kid can get to if we want to foster their self-belief and their confidence in themselves and their levels to achieve. But some of that's predetermined. Some of that you can't, like, I could run as hard as I would never have been Noah Lyles. I could have been like, you can't.
I don't think you can help your kids build good habits.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in that, but you are never going to make a kid do something long-term and actually fall in love with it. At some point in time, they're going to be like, I'll never forget. I had a mentor that 20 years ahead of me, and he was telling me a story. And he said, I used to go out with my son and throw the baseball every night. I love baseball, throw it every night. And we did it, and we played baseball all the way through high school. When I got to high school, and I asked him, I said, do you even like the sport? Kind of put his head down, and he's like, not really. I know how much you like it, so I do it for you. And I mean, like, arguably years and years of, but didn't take the time to understand. And like, he told me that story, and I'm like, man, that's powerful. Because I think sometimes we do drive stuff. So my point in all that is like, you can drive your kid to do whatever you want to. And at some point in time, when you stop the drive or you stop to ask them what they want, there's going to be times where you're like we're talking about trying to create healthy habits for my oldest, who, you know, he is a big kid, he's strong, and it's like, we want him to make sure that he stays healthy. And, you know, he likes to eat cheeseburgers and French fries and some of that stuff. And it's like, listen, I've learned to just be like, when it becomes important to him, he will change.
Yeah.
You live that.
Yeah.
You, until it became important to you, you didn't change. And so parents, push your kids into things, help them get started in things. There's nothing wrong with that. Give them opportunities to make the right choices. But at the end of the day, you're not going to force them long-term into doing anything they don't want to do.
I also like the fact that if you do give them options to do different things, like Hadley in that instance where she's doing drama club and where they can make a conscious choice, and you can see that conscious choice. If they're always, like you said with the baseball, if you just give them that opportunity, then it's easy to go along with that. And as a parent, never recognize that maybe there's something else they're interested in. But if you juxtapose two things in front of them and you're like, okay, here are your options, or 3 or 4 things, and they continually pick one over and over and over again, then maybe you can have a little more confidence that that it's something they like. Because I find myself in that situation all the time. Miss K run because I run because she knows I love it. Well, let's put soccer out here, and let's put these basketball out here, and let's see. And, you know, when she comes to me at the beginning of the season from soccer, she's, Dad, running's the priority, and it's her call. Then I feel a little bit better, although I still feel at times, and I'm self-checking, like, hey, don't force her into whatever, because you're right. I think it has to be intrinsic at the end of the day. And it's just...
But if she came to you and said, soccer's more important,
let's go.
Yeah, you're going to have to take that for face value. I want to make sure I'm clear that I'm not saying don't push your kids. Your kids need pushes. They need nudges. Mm-hmm. They need to show up to practice when... This isn't a don't go to practice or games when they don't want to, because that exists too within, like, we don't play that game. Like, that's 100% not the game. Listen to your kids. They're smarter. They know, they have great intuition. If you don't trust their intuition, then you probably haven't trusted why you've raised them and how you've raised them. But they're going to give you direction in that. And then just understand the commitments you've made. Like, don't sign up for 3 full-time seasons for the same kid. Like, right. That's happened before. Like, I know people that have done that, and it's like, you can't possibly commit. Like, we ran a basketball team recently. We only had 8 kids, because we didn't want to have to deal with all these subs. We had 8 kids, and it was like, if you're on this team, I need you to commit to be here, because we do not have a ton of subs on purpose, because we want to make sure the kids get a lot of playing time. And, you know, other kids were in baseball and in travel soccer, and, you know, we did pretty well, but, like, we up front said, don't play if you can't commit and miss and hit just about every single thing. So clear expectations from the coaching and from the teams that they're on. I would put all my kids in a league that allows them some flexibility personally, because I'm never going to take a soccer game over a family weekend at the lake. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So I think you have to, as a family, also know what the priority is, because we blow entire weekends. Like, if you think about it, this weekend alone, I took my son to Butler on Saturday. We pulled in the parking lot. Game was canceled. Didn't even have one. But I was 3 hours in the car all the way there, and plus like a half hour.
You guys were Butler? What time?
We were supposed to play at 3:15.
Oh, the 3. Yeah, we played at 9, and we only got to play 25 minutes because of lightning.
We didn't even have lightning, and they didn't even notify us. So we supposed to play at 3:15. We're all the way down there at Butler, hour and a half drive. And then today, my wife drives 2.5 hours to a game. So like arguably our entire weekend was shot. It was a beautiful weekend. We could have gone to the lake and done family stuff, but because we have 2 games and we made commitments and we prioritize those commitments. Yeah. So I don't know what all the answers are. What I do know is they're very personal by family. And back to circling your comment of like negativity around whether it's accomplishments or no accomplishments or a perceived parent's goal. As a father of 3 teenagers, I'm here to tell you that teenagers aren't doing things that they don't want to do long term. You can push them far enough unless you're a complete savage to your kids. It just isn't happening. And my intuition with the kids at the stages of life that they're in is that if someone's doing something and they're successful at it and they're really good at it, it's because they love it. And that's my disposition.
You know, you mentioned the time commitment, and that reminded me of last weekend. We were in Lawrence for 2 days, and it's the soccer fields for 17 hours in 2 days. Because what they don't tell you is, yes, your kid has a game at 9, but they have to be there 30 minutes ahead of time to warm up. And oh, by the way, it's a 30-minute drive to get there. So all of a sudden, an hour game's 2.5 hours with driving and warming up. And we had 7 games in 2 days. And I wonder if there's, I mean, this is kind of a really, maybe we're too far off topic at this point in time, but like, I was with an Uber driver when I don't know what state I was in. I don't know. I was somewhere. And we were talking about he was in Boston. And he was telling me that his son, this guy has given up his life. I'm talking moved to like, I don't know, as much as you can believe an Uber driver, and most of them you can, but like this guy had moved between like 4 or 5 different countries for his son's soccer career. And it was a pretty in-depth story. So I'm keen to believe it, but he made a comment. It's very interesting to me. He's like, and he's spot on. There is no other country in the world that has the number of youth soccer players that we do. None. And we are not even competitive not even close to competitive on a global scale. Like, what are we doing wrong? Is it the money grab side of things? Is it the, we were talking, he was talking about what has propelled his son was private coaching, and these clubs over there, they take it very seriously. So for 10 to 12 kids, there's 3 coaches, where here in like what Miles does, there's 3 coaches for 40 kids. And like, is it the economics of it that have put us in the position we are where like, it's a joke?
It's a great question. I would say if anyone had the economics to make it work, it would be Hamilton County. I mean, you guys are paying a fortune down there.
Yeah.
So
is it just take everybody's money and dilute the, I don't know.
It's interesting because most of those are nonprofits. So I don't know. I'm sure it's building new fields, new facilities. Yeah. I mean, pay for, coaches and whatnot.
It's interesting.
It really is a fascinating topic. I mean, there's a place for youth sports. It's important, I think, in the development of a child to be a part of something, to gain confidence in something. There was a quote I heard, I forget where it was, but it was like, find something your kid is good at and make it important. And his thing was like, my kid was like 20th in the world at whatever sport. And he goes, what he didn't know is there's only 30 participants. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, find something your kid's good at, make it important so they can build confidence and they can find their thing that they're good at that gives them a sense of purpose.
That's a good thing to end on, I think.
Well, as we started with the Indy Mini and the phenomenon of the world record by Ben Dick in at an hour and 20 minutes, what an accomplishment. We should all celebrate that, regardless of how he got there or how you think he got there. But a lot has kind of unfolded around kids and sports, and I think there's a lot there. It's stuff that we obviously struggle with within our kids and our families and our environments. You got to see both sides of it. There are things that require, I would say, a lot of commitment and some not as much, but I think ultimately we kind of landed on trust your kid, trust their instincts, and make sure to expose them to a lot of stuff.
Well, like you said, I think it's very important when you see somebody accomplish something like that, support them. Because you don't know what that means. Good jobbing them when I saw him at the soccer field, it was like, hey, dude, Ben. And he didn't, I said, Ben, great job last Saturday. Like do that, because you never know what it's going to mean to a kid. And I'm sure all of us remember those moments where another adult congratulated us at a sporting event when we were kids, and we can remember that vividly versus somebody side-eyeing you because of whatever hang up they have. So, yeah.
Support, encourage. We'll see you next time. Thanks.